Something else that's really helped me grow a lot longer and also give me more time to learn about certain crops is my unheated greenhouse. So this is an off-grid, unheated greenhouse that will grow all winter. And I will show you what we've done in here. And you know, compared to my climate, you may have to do some other things. I can give you some ideas when we go in there. But I'm doing my checks right now just to make sure everything's up to par. So when the cool does come, which is already kind of here, the coolness, we can do that. But we've got to manage heat first, and then we've got to manage the cold first, second. So that's what the order we're gonna go in today. I realize a lot of y'all don't have a greenhouse, but you may be curious about a greenhouse. So for the record, because I get asked this all the time, this is a Pal Ram 6x8 hybrid greenhouse, okay? It is not a Harbor Freight greenhouse, but it is, I don't think it's any different than a Harbor Freight. It's basically just rebranded in my opinion, but hey, whatever. I had this greenhouse standing here for, I believe this is the 4th year, maybe the 5th year. Time gets a little muddy, but it's one of those two. And the first thing I start with every time about this year is, you see this buildup on here? We always scrub this off. And all we use is dish soap and a sponge, and it'll come right off. It doesn't get perfect, but it does help a lot. And what that does is allow more sunlight into the greenhouse. So we'll scrub this inside and out at some point in the near future. It's just basic maintenance. But let's get in here and let's talk about managing heat. So our first method of defense, because what we have to understand is as we get ready to grow for fall, we can't just come out here when it's cold and say, I'm gonna plant. You gotta plant earlier, right? And you gotta plant in the heat, but the greenhouse magnifies that dramatically. So our first line of defense is always gonna be our door. We just leave it open unless there's a windstorm. Right now, the door is always open, and that helps with the airflow come in, and we also gotta get the air out. Okay, so we've done a number of adjustments into this greenhouse. So let's go over those. One of them we've done is we've added this louver window in. So it did not come with that, and it is apparently jammed because it hasn't been, there we go. So we leave it open until winter time. And then even in winter time, we leave it open a lot just because it gets so hot. The other thing we have is this wax cylinder on the window. As it warms up, it automatically opens and it closes. So this is always like, if you don't have a wax cylinder, you're really, you're playing with fire. So I would strongly recommend getting a wax cylinder and putting it in, just because it takes the guesswork out of it. I would honestly like to get one over here, but I don't know if they make one. I'll have to look into it maybe, but that would be nice too, because it would open at different times. So the theory, well, and it's not even really a theory, it's fact, scientific fact, is heat rises and it builds up, right? And then as that heat rises, it heats up the wax and it opens it up. But the problem is, that's a small window. So this greenhouse isn't really made to put another one in. It would be nice if we had another one over here. But what we've done is we've added a fan. Now I did have to take it down and make some adjustments, and I'm gonna show you in a minute. But what we do is we mount that fan up here, and then it pushes the hot air out, okay? And all of this is off grid. There is no electricity running out here, and I have no plans to ever run electricity out here by any stretch of the imagination. I like running it this way. So here's the rig I made, and all it is a piece of plywood cut. I got a fan that is solar powered, and then I took, and those green tabs up there, they actually fit into these tracks here. So we put those in there, and the idea is this mounts right here, and then it will blow the air out. Now I did just have to take it down and modify it. I had to cut a notch out because I replaced this wax cylinder. So, and I just eyeballed it, and it looks like I was a little bit off, so I'm gonna have to go back and cut more off. But once this opens back up, I'm going to install it to see how it works and make sure it doesn't hit, because what was happening is this was hanging up and then it wouldn't close in the winter time. That was allowing the cold to come in, because in the winter, this window opens almost every day in the winter time, and it does not close in the summer. But it closes every night in the winter too, and that's really important because that heat will come up and then it'll stop. and then it'll build in from there. So we want that to happen. So as far as cooling the greenhouse, that's all we can do. We've put shade cloths in here, and we found that it actually made it hotter because the shade cloth was black, and it would raise the temperature by 4 or 5 degrees, and it was just reflecting the heat back into the greenhouse. We put it on top of the greenhouse. Didn't really work well, so we just abandoned that altogether. In theory, you would think it would work, but for some reason in this greenhouse, it just didn't. I think what it was doing, it was blocking the airflow as well coming out and not letting that heat out. So that was an issue as well. Biggest thing I've done as far as heat goes in here, other than adding this wax cylinder, which will eliminate me forgetting to shut it, is adding these 2 tanks, this passive solar heating in here. So these are 15-gallon tanks, I believe, and all I did is I painted them black and filled them with water, and they are holding strong. The only issue is it does take a little bit of the planting space up, but at the same time, what it does is it heats up evenly. So you would think that you would want to stack one on top of each other, something like that. But what happens is with both of them in the corners, it's evenly heating out. And so what we see is we do see better growth coming from about here back, because that heat radiates out in the wintertime. And the idea is the sun comes in, it heats the water, the black helps absorb more heat, and then at night it leaches out. Lucky for us, I've done a bunch of tests because this is something I was really curious about. So with nothing added to this greenhouse, in the wintertime, at night, it stayed 1 degree warmer. 1 degree can mean a lot, but once we added everything in and we did that, we're averaging 5 to 6 degrees warmer at night, which is a huge, huge difference. And you may not think like, oh, it's not much, but that is literally life and death. So if you got to think, if it's 27, it's 32, it's not even freezing, right? If it's 20, it's 25. And we've gone through on this channel multiple crops that will live and thrive in these temperatures. The key with the greenhouse is not only does it keep it warmer to an extent, but it also allows the frost not to build up on the plants. And that's really important. That's what kills some of these more tender crops. So for instance, last year, I put my potatoes in and it left the door open and a frost came in because the cool air was able to come in and settle down, and then that killed them. But we had more that popped up and then went in even colder, and it didn't really phase them that much because we had everything buttoned up. It usually gets me early in the year, but you can't always be on your game. So another really big thing to get this greenhouse growing all winter is planting the appropriate crops for what you're doing. Okay, that's really, really important. So you don't want to come in here and plant anything super crazy and frost tender. When I first got the greenhouse and I started thinking about it, I really was excited. I just knew that I was going to easily be able to grow tomatoes all winter, and peppers and watermelons, and it wouldn't change anything. And the first night I put it up, I quickly realized that's not going to happen. So in turn, what happened is I never even attempted to plant anything like that, and I completely scrapped my plan. And I was really bummed out about it because I think that's the gardener's dream is for summer to never end, right? Southern California, y'all got peppers that are 4 or 5 years old, never come out of the ground, eggplants that produce year round, all that stuff, or periodically, whatever. As the seasons change, they probably stop, but the plant never dies. Well, that's always kind of the goal. But that didn't work for me. So I quickly realized, like, hey, I need to alter my plan. Like, I just spent all of this money. I built this thing. I got to grow in it. I got to figure it out. And I didn't want to use it as a seed starting spot. And I didn't want to use it as a potting shed because that seems wasteful to me for what I wanted. So I went with frost hardy plants. And it worked out very well. And the least frost hardy plants, like your lettuces that can be really susceptible, they will grow all winter in here. They will not die. You know, your kale will grow all winter, obviously, but that's why this year we're taking a little bit of a chance with the potatoes to see, you know, how well will they do, because you do get a leeway. Just to put it in layman's terms, I don't do zones on this channel at all. Don't ask me my zone, but to kind of make it easy across the board, a greenhouse like this will raise your temperature by 1 zone approximately. So you could look forward to that. Okay, so you want to grow all winter and you get a little bit colder than I do, right? So our average temperature in the wintertime, and when I say average, like if you look it up meteorologically, hopefully that was a word, it will say, you know, between your low temperatures will be in the 30s to 40s, when in reality, what we experience is periods of 20s and stuff like that. So we, in fact, do get crops to grow just like you see now. The thing with this greenhouse is it's got these tracks going all the way up the sides, right? So it's highly customizable. So what you can do, and a lot of people do, is they will put bubble wrap in, and the air cushion in the bubble, use the bigger bubbles, but the air cushion will give more insulation in. Now, for instance, this side of my greenhouse, the sun does not come in this side at all. So I could get some kind of like insulation board or something and cut it and install it right here, and that would help with the heat retention, stuff like that. So, you know, you can get as crazy as you want. You can do a lot of different things in here. One thing I've done, we had a really cold winter one year. I think we got down to like 12 degrees, right? And this was actually the year that they raised everybody's zones. What I did is I actually came in here, I shut up the greenhouse real tight. When I say real tight, I mean I shut the door, everything else was closed. And I just lit a candle and put it right here and let it burn all night. And that was enough, because we had a thermometer in here at the time. It raised that temperature and kept it up, right? So, you know, you can do things like that. And again, this is all off grid, no electricity, no running water. Well, no, we have one running water out here. So I guess technically it's not, but you could just water it by hand. I got tired of doing that. I'm really big on automatic watering. So that's why we went with that, but you don't have to do that. So what we find about this greenhouse is we do start seeds in here. We start our broccoli and this year our cabbage, and they do really, really well. We start them in seed trays and then we plant them out here when it's time. We plant them in there, and that works out really well. But what that does is, because the temperatures are the way they are during the day and they don't get too cold at night, being that 5-degree difference, and the time we're starting them, it's like the sweet spot, I think, and they really grow very well. And it's not getting really hot, so it's not drying out either, because we're managing that heat all the time. Now, right now, this time of year when you're watching this, if we get a 95-degree day, which is, this year is probably not gonna happen, but it's very common to have, you know, mid 90s, low 90s, this greenhouse will easily be over 100 degrees, easily. But in the wintertime, when the sun's out, when the sun is out and it's 40 degrees outside, it'll be 65, 70 degrees in here. And that's perfect, right? But what is something that all of this does too? We are minimizing the temperature fluctuations in the greenhouse as well by operating those cooling fans, leaving the doors open for ventilation. We're allowing it to not have these as high and low spikes. They're still pretty dramatic, but they're not as crazy as they could be. And that helps with the bolting and the death and stuff like that. So it's an all-around process. This is just a starting point to buy a greenhouse. I think you need to modify it to your needs and go from there. Everybody's is probably wondering cost. So cost for this greenhouse setup right here, it was, I believe I looked it up recently, is like $700 for the greenhouse itself. It took us 12 hours to build it, because it is literally every single piece you see is separate. And then the base itself is nothing but 4x4s packed on some, we dug a trench going all the way around. We put rock down, we put the 4x4s down, we built it, and then we put it on and we bolted it down. So that's what we have on there. The base probably cost us about $100. So for less than $1,000 completely, everything you see here, you can have a greenhouse. And I will tell you, this greenhouse does provide me food all winter. It's not an exorbitant amount of food, but if I factor in all of the seed starting that we do in there, all the food we harvest, all that stuff, a warm place to come sit in the daytime in the summertime, it's in the wintertime, excuse me, it's definitely worth it. I was worried about hurricanes blowing it away. It's been through 3 hurricanes and 1 tropical storm, and none of them have been major hurricanes, but it has done well. It has not done anything. One time we lost a panel, and that's supposed to happen. They're designed to blow out. It's a weak point to keep the structure intact. So, hey, I ain't gonna argue. I'll take it. It's worked well, and all winter we grow in it.